Hello, Oracles. Well, we have Tesla's earnings coming out on January 29th. That is a little over a week from today. So, what can we expect? What could we be looking for at Tesla's earnings? This past year, a big focus was going to be on margins and watching to see where the bottom was for margins. We have seen those recover, and of course, that is still going to be a big focus. We want to make sure those margins are continuing to grow as we move forward. But there's going to be some other factors as well that are going to be focused on in these earnings. We already know that we get the delivery numbers that were slightly less than last year. So we are a little lower than flat year over year, but we already know that information. When you look at the deliveries quarter over quarter, those are still growing. So yes, we fell short on a year over year basis, but we are growing up from here. Now, we do want to understand what's going to be happening for the rest of the year. We want to know what Tesla's outlook is going to be for this year. At the last earnings, Elon gave us some insight saying that we could be expecting 30% year over year deliveries, but getting some news in from Troy Tesla, thinking that, we already are seeing a very tight automotive market this year, regardless of whether it's EVs or gas vehicles. It's going to be a very tight market when it comes to pricing power. So margins could be challenged, and it could be that who is going to be buying EVs versus who is going to be buying ICE vehicles. Is the economy going to be in a strong place where people can afford the higher priced EVs right now? Or are people going to be sticking with the ICE vehicles? Are we going to see that transition? Or are we going to see a tougher economic condition this year and the EV tax credit goes away and then we start to struggle a little bit more this year and face that challenge? Now, at the time of this recording, we haven't heard what Trump is going to be doing with executive orders when it comes to that EV tax credit. But we have to wait and see what's going to happen with that because that could influence the market as well. Obviously, if that happens, you can expect that Tesla's stock price is going to come down. How is Tesla going to handle that? If that is what's going to transpire, how are they going to react to that at the earnings? Then we also have the Model Q. We want to know what information is coming out about the Model Q. What is the timing on this? Because the timing of it is going to be important. And if we're not going to be getting the EV tax credit, what is the pricing of this vehicle? Chances are we're not going to find out what the pricing is, because if we find out that Tesla is going to be sending out a much lower priced vehicle, that could cannibalize their current models and create that Osborne effect, and then they'll lose deliveries in the meantime. But we want to know the timing of this because it sounds like Elon wants to have it out in the first half of this year, but I don't think we're going to get to actual ramp and most deliveries until the second half. So I don't think we're really going to see any impact from the Model Q here in the first half of this year. But again, we'll wait and see what the timing is on that on the earnings call. Energy is going to be another piece. Energy growing exponentially has been massive when it comes to Tesla. And seeing this now coming up and actually affecting the bottom line, what are those actual dollar numbers coming in from energy and how is it going to be affecting that bottom line? Because if energy can really start moving the needle on the bottom line, even if Tesla does struggle with deliveries this year, we can still see a much better actual balance sheet because of energy moving up. We also want to know what's the status of FSD. Obviously, we've seen some big progress, but we've been seeing some great progress for several years now. Are we actually going to get that solved this year? Now, again, Elon saying that we're going to get it solved doesn't actually tell us if it is because he's been telling us that it's going to be solved soon. So again, where are they actually at with this? Are we actually going to see the end of the year us having FSD being solved? Again, we just have to wait and see on that one because I don't even know if them telling us that it's going to be solved is going to make people believe that. The next piece is going to be, what are we looking at for Optimus? What is the progress? We obviously got some great updates from it recently, but where are we at? How many of these is Tesla actually using in the factories right now? How many are they actually going to be producing and using in the factories over the course of this year? Sounds like we could be seeing 50,000, but that sounds like a lot. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Tesla is going to make this happen. Let's see what they say on the earnings call. Another piece is the Cybertruck. We've been hearing some places out there as saying, hey, the Cybertruck is not selling as well as we thought. Got some discounts that are going on out there. A bunch are just sitting on lots right now. So is the Cybertruck really moving as much as people think it is? Or are we actually just kind of stalling out on those deliveries? Seeing a bunch of videos out there, I haven't actually driven one myself, but my biggest concern about the Cybertruck right from the get-go was how is it going to be utilized by guys in the field? Now, I just saw one driving down the road next to me the other day. I don't know if it's the same one that I saw a couple months ago, but either way, it's obviously a head turner. It's something different on the road, but what is the true functionality of this? Now, here in the Northeast, we are about to get our first snowstorm for the year. So I want to see how these vehicles are going to be reacting in the snow. Based upon some videos that we see, they haven't been doing well, but at the same time, you're always going to get those one-off edge cases when you see stuff like that. So I want to see on a general broad basis, how is the Cybertruck going to be performing? And again, when you get to a job site scenario, how is it going to actually perform on the job? Because for me, when it comes down to it, there was a lot of people out there thinking that it was just going to be that vehicle that was purchased by either the fan base or by high-end individuals in those high-end areas, just as kind of a status symbol type vehicle. So that right now has played out. The next piece is going to be, is it going to be a functional vehicle? Elon touted it as that. I questioned it just because I work in that field. I see what these trucks can do. I see what they want. Guys want a full 8-foot bed. The Cybertruck does not have that the way these guys need it to be. So what is the other functionality behind this vehicle, and what can it do on job sites? I want to know that information. If you guys know, or if you have seen it or have heard anybody talking about it, please let me know, because I'm really curious how this is functioning on job sites and if people are actually using them on job sites right now. Because you can have guys like me, Kevin, say, hey, the Cybertruck is really awesome, but for a guy who doesn't actually do the construction work as it is, that's not the same as the guy who is going to be beating this truck up on a daily basis on job sites. That's what I want to know. I want to know the real actual worker who's out there using this vehicle, and if it's actually that functional, or if Tesla's going to have to make some adjustments to make this vehicle actually viable on the job sites. Now, again, Cybertruck isn't one of those vehicles that's going to be coming out there and really kind of setting all these delivery records, because that's not what it was designed to do. That's what the Model 3 and the Model Y are for. The Cybertruck was going to be sort of that bridge gap between like a Model S and an X and the 3 and the Y, and kind of branch out into a whole new category, which is the truck category. Now, as far as EV trucks go, it was the best-selling EV truck in the US, but there really isn't any other competition. You've got Rivians that are out there, and they have been obviously struggling. And then you've got the Ford Lightning, but we haven't heard anything about that in forever. So again, Cybertruck was really kind of the only one out there. So for them to have that top record doesn't really shock me whatsoever, but I want to make sure that those deliveries are growing. Obviously we have ramp capabilities when it comes to production, but are we even having the demand to necessitate that ramp and the production? So that's really going to be the big question as we go forward, is where are we at with that? And of course, that's not going to be as important as the Model Q this year, because the Model Q is going to be that vehicle that broadens out that total addressable market and gets in the hands of even more drivers that are out there to really expand Tesla's reach and their market. And so those are really the biggest focuses that people are going to be having when it comes to Tesla's earnings. And again, I'll do a deeper dive into this as we get closer to earnings next week. But I just wanted to kind of give you guys a broad-based general scope of what could we be looking for when it comes to earnings? And, obviously you're looking at the basic numbers. What's the free cash flow looking like? Are we growing our stockpile of cash? Are we utilizing that? What are we growing in other areas? How are we spending that cash? Those financials you always want to pay attention to. But when you're looking at very specifics, every earnings is kind of going to be different. Like I said, last year was margins. This year, we're going to be looking at the Model Q and the growth going forward, because we knew last year the growth was going to be stunted. We were looking at how stunted is it going to be? Well, we got that. Now we're coming out of that. So as we're growing back up, now it's all right, what can we look forward to in that growth phase as we're coming back into it from here? So those are really the things to pay attention to. You guys can let me know in the comments below if there's anything else that you think we're going to be talking about at earnings. And again, I'll do a deeper dive into this next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support. Have a great one.